What's good, everybody, and welcome back to the channel for another episode of our Oakland Athletics franchise here on MLB The Show 23. We are starting off this episode with a trade because I found out I actually broke my own rules. And part of my contract here as GM of Oakland Athletics is I'm only allowed to spend 75% of our budget, which equated to like 30 something million. I know it said we had 37 million before that trade here, but that is in talking in terms of available budget. We need to have a surplus greater than, I think it was 36 million. And before that trade, we had not done that. I don't know. I thought I had that under wraps in the offseason, but apparently maybe some like arbitration losses or something pushed us over that number. So if we had finished the season at that number, I could have been fired because that would have been a breach of my contract. Originally, my plan for this episode was to see Jack Flaherty's, and play Jack Flaherty, I should say, his kind of revenge game against the Cardinals. But when I planned for this episode to actually record, I decided to do something a little bit different. Still wanted to see it, so we're going to take a quick look at the slow sim of his first game against the team that he won the World Series with last year. The Cardinals did win the World Series in the first year of our franchise. Through 6 innings, it looks like Jack Flaherty has been subbed out, so we kind of just quick simmed from there. Ends up with a loss here today, 4 innings and an out, and then 3 earned runs. St. Louis won 3-2, so that will be a loss on his record. Instead, what we're going to do with this episode is I'm going to turn on the critical situations. I'm doing commentary after the fact here. Of course, it's just live commentary for me, and this series has been really tough. Hard for me to play baseball and commentate on it at the same time. Also, for the first time this season, we will be doing CPU versus CPU with these critical situations. In the first season of this franchise, I kind of had the plan where it would be mostly a CPU versus CPU franchise, and I would play sporadically. Taking a look at the injury list here, at the back half of season 1 tour and into this second season, I've decided to kind of flip that, where it'll be mostly a gameplay series. But I still want to have CPU versus CPU as part of it. So just to kind of see, without my skills or lack thereof in the game, how do our players perform? Have 3 injuries here. All of them are in the minor leagues with Max Muncy, Dan Sable, and Zach Geloff. A couple of our promising prospects, and Dan Sable, he's a guy that we picked up right before the season started. So all of them are on the list. Some of them are on for quite a long time. I think Max Muncy's kind of been injured since the beginning of the season. But like I said, I wanted to turn critical situations on, and because we have a series against the Angels that I know I'll hop in if there's any critical situations. We got a 1-run lead to protect. Close that with Jackson. Let's hop into it. 2 men on base, 2-0 count. Bottom of the 9th. Get a swing into foul territory. Another thing I like about doing like a critical situations episode, this isn't going to be like a main staple. I'm thinking maybe 2 of these a season, something like that. It's a little bit more of a chill episode that allows me to just kind of sit back, watch, and talk about the series because we're not fully invested in these games, right? We're coming in bottom of the 9th here because the count is now full for Zach Jackson, one of the most promising relievers we have on the team. Of course, walks per 9 is an issue, but he will get the strikeout here against Gio Urshela. 1 out away from sealing a victory. Got him to chase on the outside there. Nice pitch. We will intentionally walk Brandon Drury. And could that be a mistake? Obviously it could, but you get the force out any base. Bringing up, looks like Zach Neto will pinch run for him. Okay. Anthony Rendon. Vastly overpaid in this franchise compared to what his ratings are, but 2 for 2 on the day, double and a single, has an RBI. Really needs to get one of those here. Keep the Angels' hopes alive. We'll start with a low fastball. Just can't quite find the zone. Episodes like this, they allow me to, sometimes I can comment on the game. I can also I feel like I can more freely comment on the state of the franchise, kind of what I'm feeling with the team, as we are able to get that final out and secure a 4-3 victory against the Angels. Surprisingly, we've been at 500 through the first month of the season. This has honestly been a pleasant surprise for where I thought we would be. Now we're kind of on the opposite side of the spectrum here, now needing to score a run to keep our hopes alive in this game. Got a man on first, no outs. Ahmed Rosario just has to avoid, really, above all else, a double play, but you'd also like to avoid a strikeout here. You want to find a way to advance the runner, and that's a pretty nice slider there from Brock Burke trying to close us out. So, been a pleasant surprise. I don't know if we're going to be able to keep this up, though. Wow. That is a pitch to get your strike 3 on for sure. And then Rosario upset. We obviously don't know how the umpire's been calling the rest of this game, but he is, all the borderline are going towards the pitching here, which is surprising to see on an 8-7 game. I think maybe is more of a hitter's umpire here. That one is called for a ball, thankfully. But in terms of how I view the franchise, honestly, I kind of viewed this as a selling year for the most part. It's a nice circle change, low in the zone. And so maybe selling off a veteran like Seth Brown or Jace Peterson or Ramon Laureano, maybe even one of our free agent acquisitions is Ahmed Rosario, who we just saw strike out. He hasn't been the best, and I think there are some contending teams. I've kind of taken a look around the league. There are some contending teams in need of an upgrade at shortstop. So if we start to fall below 500 a bit prior to the trade deadline, I could see us selling a little bit. And the second strikeout in a row, Seth Brown, he's mad at the bats. It was a little bit more user error, if you ask me, but some good pitching here by Brock Burke, trying to close us out. It's all on Tony Kemp. Tony Kemp was the episode 10 hero for opening day. Can he be the hero once again? Brock Burke is showing some pretty good control. These pitches, not really making any mistakes here. Also getting some generous calls as well. Help him out. Another thing I'd be interested in doing is making another Trevor Rogers-like trade where if we find somebody that's young and good on the trade block, would I be willing to move 3 prospects and get somebody who's both a prospect and an MLB-ready player at the same time? Absolutely, I would. And I know I've done a lot of simulations in just kind of like rebuilds off camera that I've just kind of done for myself, and he strikes out. 3 straight batters for the Rangers win. That's a tough way to go down, man. At least it's kind of good to know that it's not just me who strikes out all the time on this team. The players will just do it themselves. Of course, I strike out quite a lot. But here we go. We got another scenario. Tied game, batting at home, walk it off. Shea Langeliers. He's also one of the heroes on opening day. That doesn't make much sense. But of course, he is the guy who hit the 2-run homer at the bottom of the 8th to tie the game up. That was a really fun game to play, that opening day game. And so, of course, the next episode we really focused on the minors. So we're still pretty young, trying to get a feel of what this team is in terms of gameplay. We'll be hopping back on and playing games next episode for sure with the Major League team. That's a ground ball to Seager. He is safe. Now with no outs, we've got a man on third. You gotta be aware of the bunt possibilities here. Trying to get that man at third. Ooh, that might have been out. But either they use the challenge or they decide not to use it, or they decide not to do it here. Chase Peterson will try to bunt. This one, he gets tagged. And the runner at third holds. Okay. So the good thing is we did advance from first to second, so the double play is not an option here for Ian Happ. Will he bunt as well? You got to think about the possibility of it. Between Happ and the little intentional walk might actually make sense, so they can get the double play. Now that the double play's back on board, you have to think about the bunt again. You have to do anything you can to avoid the double play here. What do we have over at third base right now? I don't know who that is. Does he have speed on him? One for 4 on the day for Ahmed Rosario. Bottom of the 10th, first pitch. Curveball low and outside. Second one is also a ball. Joe Barlow trying to keep the Rangers in this game. Bases loaded. I'd love just like a walk-off grand slam here, but Ahmed Rosario's power isn't the best. He'll bunts, and we get the man across home. It's Hosmer. He does not have any speed on him. But the Oakland Athletics will win the game 3-2. Win over the Rangers is something you always can't take for granted. The Rangers have been really good this year. They are currently first in our division. With that loss, this puts us at 500. We are last in our division at 500. This division has been very competitive this year, which you love to see. But as I was saying, I've done a lot of simulations outside of what I've done on the channel. I've rebuilt the Angels or this team or that team or whatever. Done it for a couple of reasons. One, because I enjoy the game. Two, to kind of get a wider taste of draft classes and free agent classes and who sims well and who doesn't sim well. And honestly, if I had done that prior to our first offseason, maybe I would have gone for a couple different players. I have seen guys perform really well or perform poorly in simulation. Some guys that we have on the team, or some guys that I chose not to sign, like a Cody Bellinger. I just released the 162-0, challenge that was really just for win 117 games challenge. But I called it 162-0 because it makes a better thumbnail. It makes a better. Like, nobody's gonna tune into a 117 win challenge. You're gonna tune into a 162-0 challenge, which I'm quite certain is fairly impossible in this game. Particularly because if I use like a zero overall version of like Dodgers, who have unlimited budget, maybe you could make that work. But from like year 3 of that franchise, we were kind of budget constrained. But like a Cody Bellinger performed really well there. And had I known that, I definitely would have tried to pick him up, rolling around, able to glove that and secure an Athletics win. And it looks like even through this episode, we're going to go through this Mariners series, and then that's going to be the end. We're still going to be hovering around 500, 3 episodes into the year. Haven't done a ton of simming. Through 3 episodes, we're just a little bit over a month into the season. I think the general pace kind of depends on how good we do. But if we are kind of if we find ourselves eventually being out of the playoff race, I think like 2 episodes per month is kind of the general. Maybe sometimes we'll do a whole month in an episode. Sometimes we'll have 3 different episodes in a month, which kind of we're doing right here, right? Just over a month and 3 episodes. But that's kind of the general pace, because that will lead to roughly 14 episodes, which I think is a good amount. If we're really competitive, especially if like we're borderline, on the playoff race in September, we need to have a good September. Maybe that, we'll slow down there, maybe only play a couple series in an episode. I think it's going to be very flexible, the pace, but I honestly don't see this team keeping up at 500 for the remainder of this season. So I anticipate we'll be getting to a pace as we get deeper into the season, at about 2 episodes a month. I think I've also found I really like a gameplay game and like a player lock game with either like 1 player lock for like a starting pitcher, maybe 2 player lock games for a position player, something like that. I really like that format. Also just playing 2 games, but maybe simulating the middle 3 innings of the second game. I like that format for an episode. Obviously, I love to, especially when we're kind of we're still kind of building the team, and a lot of our future is still in the minors, right? We don't have a lot of players on our team right now that are like really exciting long-term players. I like to preview the minors a decent bit. I imagine we'll do that at least 2, maybe more times in this season. And in 3 games against the Seattle Mariners, we scored a total of 1 run. The last thing I want to do here in this episode is just kind of take a look at how the team's doing. Starting here with Jack Flaherty. He is the top-rated player, tied for the top-rated player on the team. Strikeouts are down, walks are up. He's been decent. He's okay. Trevor Rogers, sub 4 ERA, 1.35 WHIP. That's okay. Strikeouts are down, walks are up again. Home runs per 9 are down though, below 1. That's good to see. Noah Syndergaard, 3.27 with 118 WHIP. He's not a strikeout pitcher, but he keeps those walks per 9 low, which is helping his ERA. High, walks per 9 rating is a very big deal in this game in terms of simulation. James Kaprielian not doing too great. Has been a pretty good strikeout pitcher though, but his walks are terrible. Home runs he's limiting at a decent pace. So basically, we're going to go through the MLB team, and then the guys with B or higher potential. So that's kind of the plan here at the end of the episode. 309, 117 WHIP. I really like that we were able to put ourselves in a position in free agency where we could put Waldichuk and Muller into the minors this year. JT again was really, really good for us in AA last year. He's good again, once again in AAA. His C potential, probably gonna limit. He's never gonna be a great player, but could he be, a long reliever? Geraldo Soto is incredible thus far. Sub 2 ERA, sub 1 WHIP in his 6 starts. Of course, we saw him pitch, 6 shutout innings in his debut. Gunnar Hoglund has not been quite so good to start the year. Still a pretty low sample size, especially for AA pitchers, just because their season starts later. Bo Schnell we'll take a look at. His ratings are already starting to increase more than Geraldo Soto, which is really weird to me because he's had a good season. 303, 129. Take that all day for, an 18-year-old pitcher. Geraldo Soto's having a better year and he's not increasing it. It's kind of weird to me, but it is what it is. We'll wait until later in the season before we really get worried about it. Luis Medina, not been great in AA. Hans Kraus, he's been fantastic. 1.1 ERA, 101 WHIP. That's really good. Of course, got him in the Paul Blackburn trade. A couple of just kind of shots we took at the pitcher position. Zach Jackson, WHIP is like the same. ERA is better. Walks per 9 are a real concern, but he is a strikeout pitcher for sure. And we saw that in today's episode. Jordan Hicks, looks like a bit of a regression from him. That's why I only signed him to a 2-year deal. I thought he's a good overall. He's got good potential. He's a good age. Didn't want to commit to him long term because of that walks per 9 rating. It looks like it's coming back to maybe haunt him a little bit after a stellar year last year. Domingo Acevedo was our best reliever last year. Not been quite so good this year, and he is going down, which is unfortunate. Really good at limiting walks, but his strikeouts and his home runs per 9 aren't in the best spot. It looks like maybe allowing some home runs is probably what's resulting in his high ERA. Again, really early in the season, these numbers are going to have a chance to change a lot. Daniel Hudson, the guy that I don't remember signing. I had contracts on auto during the offseason for some reason. Don't know how many people the CPU actually signed for me. Why couldn't they have signed Omar? I always forget his last name, but the Dodgers pitcher with a potential. That's my question. Eric Ullman has a pretty high whip, but a low ERA. So it looks like ERA is maybe a little bit lucky. Walks and hits per inning are not great for him. Johnny Huerta, okay. He's only pitched 2.2 innings. So he's pitched 2 outs other than what we showed of him. Wait, I'm going to need to adjust the pitching rotation so he actually plays more. But he was really good when we pitched for him. Garrett Dennis will also take a look at here. 12 innings, 7.11 ERA, 1.5 whip. Still positive WAR somehow. I have no idea how that's actually the case. Jake Rogers, got him in the trade we made at the beginning of the episode so that we can get our budget in a place where we won't get fired. So he's recently on the team, but he's been pretty good this year. Tyler Soderstrom hitting over 300 with 3 home runs, 860 OPS. He's been really good. How long is he going to be in the minors? Could he even potentially be a September call-up? I could see it. Not going to rush him at all, though. I want to make sure he's in a spot where he can succeed once he reaches the MLB. Seth Brown here, 258, OPS over 800. He's been really solid, of course. Has a little bit of position versatility as well. He can play the outfield. That speed makes me think more corner outfields than really center field. But look at, he has good fielding ratings. He just doesn't quite have the speed for it. Taking a look at Max Muncy, yeah, he's had 31 at-bats. So he did get injured pretty early into the season. Robert Poisson, he's been good. He's been good, 297 average. Doesn't hit for a lot of power, but as long as his contact gets to a spot where he can be a good contact hitter, he has some speed. Looks like he's going to be a decent fielder. I think that's a guy who can get into our rotation. Jace Peterson has regressed this year. Still kind of a guy he can play any position you really want him to. He's got a ton of position versatility. Zach Giloff does not, and he has not been great this year. But he's probably our best prospect at third base. Rene Hernandez obviously has a shot at that, as Kevin Smith has been terrible to start the year. But Rene Hernandez is just gonna be a bad fielder. I don't know if he can play third base, and he can't play any other position in terms of his secondaries. Probably more of like a first baseman, honestly. But really good. He's a good contact hitter, and he has been so far. Ahmed Rosario, not the average you're looking for when you get a guy who has contact at the level he does. Maybe just lead off isn't his role, and the CPU updated him to be at the 3 spots. Maybe that can bring his average up. Ian Happ has been good. I like what I've seen from Ian Happ. 290, 866 OPS. I think he plays good when we play. Simming well as in addition to that, and he is a positive WAR player. His position for versatility, I think, makes him a really nice asset, at least for the length of his contract. We'll see if maybe even further than that. Honestly, I look at this team. Unfortunately, I wish the season that Lawrence Butler had last year, which was a good season, I wish it would have impacted his overall, his potential more, because he's hasn't been as good this year, but he also he doesn't have any room to grow. And I feel like after last year, it should have gone up. Begs the question of, should I be willing to just kind of manually update potentials? But here's the thing: if I do it for one player, when does it stop? I feel like I need to create rules for doing it before I implement doing it in any sort of series. Roberto Silva, the average isn't there, but his power certainly is. Colas has not been very good this year for AAA. Could consider sending him down to AA. I think it's still too early in the season to really send people up and down yet for me. But at some point, I'll be taking a look at that, sending some people up and down. When I have a clearer picture of some things with some more games played, because like this team, who's one of I think we're rated as like the 5th or 6th worst team in baseball, something like that. We're 500 right now. So, or I guess one game under. But that's all I had for this episode. Again, wanted to get a bigger picture of kind of how this team has started, how everyone's looking. That was kind of the main goal. Talk about this team. I think we could be maybe kind of like we were last year, maybe a combination of buyers and sellers at the trade deadline. If there's a good young prospect that's available for trade, like I have seen very often in year 2s of franchises in this game, probably pull the trigger. But that's all I have for this episode. I'll be back soon with another, and I see you then.